Welcome to Pocket Coaching. I'm Dr. Kate, and I am so glad that you are here with me this week. Tell me if this rings true for you. When you have something or you're thinking about something in the future, something that might happen, you get into what I would call what-if thinking. And maybe not necessarily in a positive direction, what if thinking, thinking of all the things that could possibly go wrong. And as you continue to think about all the things that can go wrong, you think of worse things and worse things and worse things. And before you know it, you're destitute and homeless, and the worst thing in the world has happened to you. I know I definitely do this. So this weekend we had a pipe burst and started to flood the downstairs a little bit. Fortunately, we got to it quick. We got the water off. We were able to get all the water up. It was clean water, so that helped. Got a plumber in today and got it fixed. But yesterday, as I was vacuuming up water with the shop vac, I started to get into a little bit of this what if negative spiral. What if the entire floor is ruined? What if all the walls are ruined? What if our furniture is ruined? Oh my gosh, we're going to have to replace all of these things. Oh my gosh, what if? And before the end of cleaning up the water, I had basically decided that our entire basement was going to have to be refinished again because of the water damage. Which really just didn't end up being true. It could have been if we hadn't caught the leak, if we hadn't caught the burst pipe when we did. But we did catch it. So we really didn't need to spend all of that time feeling anxious and worried about a possibility that could happen. So when we get into what if thinking, we do tend to go down a bit of a negative spiral. We don't necessarily utilize it to think of what if in all of the positive ways, right? And so when we get into this technique, this thinking, I really like to use cognitive behavioral therapy and the techniques of CBT to kind of explore a little bit more to stop that negative thought cycle when it comes to what if thinking. So instead of thinking just the worst, I encourage you to explore the worst, explore the best, and explore the most likely outcomes. This can be a really powerful method for managing our stress and anxiety. So this approach helps us step out of our automatic worry loops and look at situations from a more balanced perspective. And that helps us create mental clarity and reduces emotional intensity. So we want to identify the worst case scenario. So we are prone to what if thinking, and we often catastrophize, imagining only the worst outcomes. But by consciously naming the worst possible outcome, you allow the mind to confront and process the fear. So identify that worst case scenario, and you can even think about it in terms of what's the worst case scenario? Okay, what would I do in that situation? How would I respond? What action might I take? And this exercise helps the brain see that even in the worst case scenario, while potentially challenging, it may be something you can handle or could prepare for. And it turns an abstract worry into a tangible issue, and that reduces its power over you. Second, you want to identify the best case scenario. We often don't consider positive possibilities. So we focus only on the risks and the negatives, and by acknowledging the best outcome, you give space for hope and potential. This balances out the brain's negativity bias and allows it to see that positive outcomes, while perhaps maybe less familiar, they are also possible. So visualizing a positive outcome can bring optimism, shift your mindset, and lessen anxiety. Next, you want to consider the most likely outcome. So after acknowledging both of the extremes, The next step is to ground yourself by identifying the realistic, most probable outcome. This brings about objectivity and reduces the likelihood of dramatic thinking. The brain finds comfort in that realistic prediction. And this logical approach to evaluating possible outcomes can help the nervous system relax. You're left with a sense of clarity and control rather than paralyzing fear. And so, moving through each step, this CBT technique helps reduce stress and anxiety by first increasing your awareness. You become more aware of your thought patterns, which interrupts that automatic negative thinking. You regain control. This gives you a structured approach, fostering a sense of control and intentionality around what you can and cannot influence. And finally, you build resilience. So facing both positive and negative possibilities can help build resilience as you realize that you can handle a range of outcomes. By practicing this method consistently, you can shift how you approach challenges and lessen the tendency for worry to escalate into full-blown anxiety. Over time, it helps to establish a more balanced and realistic way of thinking, making stressors feel manageable and easing the mental and emotional toll of constant what-if scenarios. I hope that today's lesson was helpful for you. If you found it helpful, I would love to have you share this with someone else who may need these steps, who may also be a what-if thinker. I appreciate you so much. I hope you have a beautiful and wonderful day. And as always, be well.